Solar PV Cast by Shift, a podcast exploring solar energy and the role it plays in improving our lives and our planet. Here's your host, Chris Palliser.
Thanks for checking the Solar PV Cast out. Yes, I'm your host, Chris. It's brought to you by Shift. For all your solar and energy storage needs, make sure to visit shift.ca. We're going to stick on the theme of Solar Bites. These are snackable solar content episodes. You know, around that 5-minute mark, nothing too long. We get in on one topic and then we get out so you can maybe listen to the next Solar Bite episode or another episode. The guest today is Jeff. He is from Parksville. He is a solar user. Welcome, Jeff, back to the podcast.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me on the third time.
I was going to say, so Jeff's been on a few times now, and the first episode we did, I think, was basically just, hey, you have solar. Tell us what that adventure was like. And then a year later, we checked in. What's a year been like? And here we are 2 years later. Now, the focus of this, because this is a Solar Bite episode, one thing I really loved when we chatted a year ago was, A, your passion for solar, which is why you're back on the podcast, and B, the financials of it all. And you got really excited when you started talking about how you were in the black on day one. And that's the title of this episode. I think it's going to be something about that. I'll figure that out after the fact. But in the black, day one, going solar. Can you break that down for me, Jeff?
Yeah, Chris, we were looking at solar panels. I mean, we've been looking at solar panels for 20 years, but it just didn't work for us. And then the feds announced a $5,000 grant, which is they're not accepting applications on anymore, and a $40,000 interest-free loan for 10 years. And when we did our energy audit, they said heat pump or solar panels or both, but we didn't want to do the heat pump at the time. The return on investment for us just didn't work. But the solar panels had a huge impact. And one of the key things on being in the black on day one is that for every watt of solar power you add, on average adds $3 to the value of your house. So we put in 9,000 watts. So theoretically, that would add $27,000 to the value of the house. Well, we lucked out because we got the grant. So that was another $5,000. So mathematically, before we even did it, we were looking at being at plus $33,000, where our total cost ended up being $24,000. Well, in January of this year, we got the assessment for July 1st of 2023. Our neighbors' houses, because you can look all this up on BC Assessment, our neighbors and us, we had almost exactly the same BC Assessment since the day we moved in, which was little over 8 years ago. In January, when we got our assessment, I went and checked our neighbors' houses. We were $33,000 higher.
Almost
and
exactly.
The only difference was that we had added the solar panels. So
yeah, beauty. So value of the house in the black immediately.
Yeah.
And then obviously with this 0% interest up to $40,000 loan that is still available for people.
Yep.
I love the math on that as well, because you were able to kind of leverage that and make a smart play financially, which also brought you income immediately.
Well, we could have paid cash. You know, we had the cash available just to do the project, but that would come out of our investments, and we'd lose the dividends and that sort of thing. So when we got the loan, which covered the entire amount, plus we got the $5,000 dividend, the grant. So we were $5,000 cash rich once we had the loan, $5,000 more than what we would have had. We put that into a high yield interest account, and the loan, you know, we were on equal billing at $164 a month. The loan payment was going to be $200 a month. But by taking the grant, it covered a $5,000 grant at $200, covered 25 months. Well, we put $100 a month into that every month. So we were doing, out of pocket, we were doing $100 less. So by doing that, we covered the first 38 months of payments for $100 a month,
Yeah.
Which was $64 a month less than our equal billing plan. We also took the loan and said, okay, this was in investments, and we would have had to take it out. But so we allocated that same loan amount and tracked it separately. And I was just going through the numbers this morning. That $20,000 that we put into the investments or earmarked for the investments is now worth $26,000 as of this morning.
Right.
Plus, we've been earning on that a little better than 5% yield. So we're generating $1,200 a year income from the investments. So we're up $1,000 on that. Plus, we're up $120 each year throughout the entire loan period because the dividends are pretty solid. And so we figure at the end of 10 years, we'll be $85,000 in the black.
Right. And that's because 10 years is the length of the loan repayment, which is 0% interest.
But if we look at the length of the solar panels, which is a 25-year warranty on production, labor, and parts, so another 15 years. But at this point, we're now all the savings, which is roughly our bill for 2023 was $425.
Your utility bill,
$1,968.
Wow.
Our bill for this year, and I know what it's going to be in December because I know how much credit I've got going in. Our total for 2024 is going to be $300. So
incredible.
We're saving $1,500 to $1,600 a year on that. Once the loan is paid off, well, you add another $2,400 a year.
Yeah.
So 2,400 times 15 is another $35,000.
Totally. So it's just adding up. But immediately you saw the value increase. You were able to transfer the money from investments. You were able to keep that investing in high interest savings. And then, of course, you're saving on utilities, and that's for the next 25 years.
Yep.
So what do you say to somebody when they're like, what's the return on investment on solar? 10, 11, 12 years? I don't know. What do you say?
For us, one day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
that's what it was. We were in the black right off day one. We won't realize that all until we actually sell the house.
Right. But it's the perception, right? And that's what a lot of people struggle with. It's that perception of what's the return. They're really hooked on this return on investment for solar. When my perimeter drains, I don't know. I guess the value of the house because $20,000 of drain work is going to help, but it doesn't go up $20,000. It's just a thing you need to do. Yeah. And so everyone gets hooked on this for solar, but that's why I wanted to have this conversation because you just put it so clearly. This is way more than the 5 minutes now. So much for Solar Bites, but quickly your return on investment story for a snow brush. I love that one.
Well, the first winter we had on one day we had 4 inches of snow, and I'm looking at it and the day after it snowed, and we got full sun, but this is mid-December, right? So. I'm going, oh crap, we're losing all this production. So I got on Amazon, I ordered a solar brush, which has a silicone brush on it for pulling the snow off. So I had next day delivery on it. So I'm up there and I go to pull the snow off the roof and it came off 4 panels. I just did one pull because it was so sticky. It cleared 4 panels with me standing underneath it. It landed at my feet. It was probably 900 pounds of snow.
Wow. Yeah.
It was one huge.
Yeah.
I would have been badly hurt.
I was going to say, so safety wise, maybe not the best move.
Well, I was just far enough away that it when it came sliding off, but it landed at my feet.
Yeah. Right.
When I did the rest of the solar panels, it was, yeah. Well, after I had a couple of days of sun under my belt at that time, I went and looked at my production. Well, full sunny day, middle of December, almost the first day of winter, I'm only producing 4 or 5 kilowatts an hour. Well, at 9 cents a kilowatt, it worked, and I paid $65 for this damn brush. Um, so I'm looking at maybe 72 cents a day. So
It's gonna be a while.
yeah, and it's only that period of time that the snow's on there. All the snow melted like 4 days later.
Yeah.
So I would have lost 4 days of production at 72 cents, so $4. So 15 years was the payback on the brush.
And you would have made on a sunny spring day, what I think you said something like half an hour, you would have made all that back.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're in the summer where we were generating 62 kilowatt hours a day, and our peaked out at 5.74. This time of year, the best I can generate today, looking, we have full sunshine at noon in another hour. It'll be 4.7 something.
Right. Yeah.
I've got enough history now. I know what it's going to do, when it's going to do it.
Well, and that's why I wanted you on here, because you're clearly a numbers guy. You're tracking everything, and you know, when it comes to the numbers of solar, it can get overwhelming. It can get confusing for people. But when you kind of break it down like that, and even if you didn't have the money for the investment, I just wanted to wave to your wife back there. She was trying to duck. Hi. she was trying to duck out of it, but we got you. When you break down the numbers, and even if somebody didn't have it investments, that 0% interest 40-year loan is such a gift.
Yeah, and you know,
or 10-year loan, I should say.
Yeah, a 10-year loan up to $40,000. So it'll definitely cover the install. And depending on, we had our system designed to cover 60% of our load, but it turned out, but the estimates were, you know, their estimates, and they estimated low on the production, at least what we went through for 2023, because we had so much sun. And even this year, we're going into the winter with about 2,900 kilowatt hours in the bank, because we're on net metering, so it just accumulates.
Yeah, beauty.
Yeah, so it's we won't do as good for 2024 as we did for 2023, but still better than our expectations, because we're
investments are still producing. The value of the house is still going up.
Yeah,
it's all gravy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But what about in the neighborhood? Forget solar bites. Okay, we're now into 10 plus minutes here. We're now just a standard podcast episode. Yeah. What? Still feeling good 2 years in now?
Oh yeah. We're you know, we have a plug-in hybrid, and just this summer, Clean BC came up with another $5,000 grant for replacing our baseboard heaters with a heat pump. So we jumped on that. It took 2 weeks, start to finish.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got the plug-in hybrid, the heat pump, the solar panels. You're living my dream.
Yeah, and it's we're looking at our investments, and you know, and the stock market in Canada has been very strong in the last several months. So, you know, we looked, and all of a sudden our portfolio is up almost 40%.
Amazing.
Yeah,
and you're only paying $400 a year for utility costs.
Yeah,
and you're helping the environment.
Yeah. You know, on our plug-in hybrid, our last tank of gas, which is a full tank, is 41 liters. I got 2,400 kilometers on that tank.
Wow. These are the conversations that just always blow me away. Like, I'm in this industry, but it's so refreshing, you know, to be reminded of when you break it down like this, like, there's no need to sell solar. You literally just talk about the facts and the numbers, and it just makes so much sense.
Yeah. The hard part, you know, is coming up with that initial investment. And the thing is even with the loan, you still have to pay the installer up front.
Mm-hmm.
You can get I think a 15% advance on the loan.
That's right. Yeah.
And then, but you have to come up with the difference initially.
Yeah.
And then you get the loan. So it's worth getting short-term financing if you don't have the cash available.
That's a great point because, okay, you might lose, a little bit on the interest in that. But again, when you look at those years of compiling interest and whatever else, it just works.
Yeah. And adding to the value of the house right off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people forget that. This is so small, but my wife just bought a shower head that I thought was absolutely too much money. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's an investment in your home, right? And that's where you live. That's where you spend your time. You'll get it back one day. Otherwise, you can enjoy it in the meantime.
Well, I'm going to be interested how it works with the heat pump this winter with the solar to see what effect it has on our consumption. But we ended up getting the solar panels, one because of the $5,000 grant from Clean BC, and I arranged it through Costco because we're Costco executive members. So, and we paid it on the Costco credit card. So we get 2% of that back on the credit card, plus we get 2% back on Costco purchases. So
yeah, there you go. Sorry, what part did you put on the Costco?
The whole thing.
Really, you could do that
because
amazing.
With the Clean BC grant, it actually does. The installer bills Clean BC for it. We get
interesting.
We give
right.
the number. They invoice directly. So right. And then the unit, they had a sale on for that particular unit, which was normal install was going to be $10,000, $5,000 covered by the grant. The unit was on sale for $7,500. So from the time we put in the application to Clean BC, it was 2 weeks before we got the approval. I got the approval notice on a Monday. I phoned. I went online to Costco installation service, filled in the form. They phoned me back within the hour. I got a text message at 8:00 that night, because when I talked to the guy, I told him that I could do it any day that week. He said, "I've got a guy coming at 11:00 tomorrow morning." The guy was here at 11:00 tomorrow morning. We ran through the whole program. I told him we'd give an answer by the end of the day. At 4:00, I said, "Okay, let's do it." He said, "When do you want it done?" He says, "I can have it done on Friday." I said, "No, next Tuesday." So the following Tuesday, they were here at 8:00. They were done at 11:00 in the morning.
Boom. Unreal. And you got your 2% on the Costco card. Do you financial advising? Is that something else you do?
No, but back in the early 90s, late 80s, I wrote software for the Toronto Stock Exchange because I'm a developer, right? For the Toronto Stock Exchange on monitoring the brokerage houses for compliance. So I went in to meet with the TSE, or TSX in those days, TSE now. And one of the guys who was sitting in on it for them said, "Well, what do you know about the stock exchange?" I said, "Absolutely nothing." And he says, "Well, how are you going to do this?" I says, "Well, what do you know about doing databases?"
Yeah, right.
He goes, "Absolutely nothing." I said, "My job as an analyst and developer is to understand your processes, and then to computerize those."
Yeah.
So I take your manual processes and I have to understand them completely. And then I can write code for it.
Right.
But I said, by the end of this project, I will know as much or more about how the stock exchange works than you do.
There you go.
And I still do.
There you go. And the rest is history. I was thinking with that heat pump, because, your consumption's going to go up.
Yeah.
BC Hydro right now, $5,000 for an expansion to your system, $1,000 per kilowatt.
Yeah.
If you wanted.
Yeah.
If the math works out.
Yeah. You got to do the math, and you got to understand the numbers, and you got to look at all the different permutations. When I gave the numbers to Susan initially, she says, "This can't be true. This is too good to be true. Anything that's too good to be true can't be true." Yeah. Well, 2 years in, we're doing better than we thought.
Amazing. Thank you, Jeff, for this 5-minute chat on solar.
You're welcome.
I love it. Yeah, I'm happy to hear that things are going well for you. And we got to keep this up now. We got to do another check-in in a year.
Next October.
There you go. I love it. Jeff, solar user from Parksville, British Columbia, checking in on the Solar PV Cast. Thanks for your time, Jeff.
You're more than welcome. Anytime, Chris.
The Solar PV Cast by Shift with Chris Palliser. To begin your solar journey, visit shift.ca.